Germany's grand show of Arctic resolve lasted 44 hours. That's how long a German military reconnaissance team managed to stay in Greenland before packing up and heading home. 15 soldiers flown in on Friday were expected to extend their mission, but by Sunday they were already boarding a return flight from Nuuk. So much for a prolonged Arctic presence. The brief visit was part of a carefully choreographed European effort to signal seriousness to US President Donald Trump, who has been loudly questioning Europe's commitment to Greenland's security. Germany took the lead, joined by France, Sweden, Norway, and the UK, all ahead of a planned NATO training exercise. The message was meant to be clear: relax, Washington, we've got this. Trump's response? Tariffs. On Saturday, the US president announced a 10% import tax starting in February, rising to 25% in June on 8 European countries, including Germany. The crime? Agreeing to conduct what Trump clearly views as insufficiently impressive NATO token exercises on Greenland instead of handing over the island. Cue European outrage. French President Emmanuel Macron called the move unacceptable and is now preparing to activate the European Union's anti-coercion instrument, Brussels' economic equivalent of pulling the emergency brake. It's the bloc's most powerful retaliation tool, and Macron appears ready to use it. Berlin, meanwhile, has dropped the diplomatic niceties. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephol openly questioned whether the EU-US trade agreement can even be ratified under these conditions. He said, "We must not allow ourselves to be blackmailed," bluntly rejecting Trump's tariff ultimatum. Wadephol warned that tariffs are poison for transatlantic relations, though he stopped short of spelling out Europe's counterstrike. Instead, he reminded Washington of an inconvenient fact. Europe is politically and economically stronger than Trump seems to think, and increasingly willing to prove it. The irony is hard to miss. Europe sends troops to Greenland to reassure the US. The troops stay less than 2 days. The US responds with economic warfare. Now, the EU is preparing retaliation, trade talks are hanging by a thread, and Greenland, still not for sale, has become the unlikely epicenter of a transatlantic standoff. In the end, Germany's 44-hour Arctic adventure and other European nations' theatrics may be remembered less for what it achieved and more for what it triggered: a tariff war, bruised alliances, and a very cold reminder that symbolism doesn't always satisfy Washington.
I mean, we have been asking since the very beginning of this to have a constructive dialogue with our American ally and friends, free from social media and headlines and strong words. And we opened that dialogue last week. We will not give up on that. I mean, I have an agreement with the American Vice President. It was reconfirmed after we have listened to the press spokesperson. So we will stay on track unless US decide differently. But then at the same time, of course, we need the European Union to respond. I will not develop that response at this press conference. There is close consultation going on among our European friends. I foresee that there will be, also a meeting among foreign ministers, and we will also continue close consultations with those European countries who are not members of the European Union but still integrated in the single market, and even more importantly, a member of NATO, because this is not only about the European Union, it's basically about, the NATO alliance.
And the very essence of NATO is to protect the sovereign integrity and territorial integrity of its member states. So that's what it's all about, and that is again rooted in the collective right of self-defense in the UN Charter, which is deeply committed. And I want to reiterate what also Lars has said, that we have two messages that we share with all the countries we mentioned in this, not only the 8, but with all, I would say, all the European countries and Canada, is that on the one hand, we stand with the Kingdom of Denmark in defense of its sovereignty. But we're also ready to do more together with America and with all our allies in the Arctic. And that's exactly why we are stepping up our presence in Greenland, because if there are security concerns, we can meet them jointly, both bilaterally, Denmark and the US, but also as a NATO alliance. And Norway has for decades been arguing that NATO should take a stronger role generally in the Arctic. We would, of course, say that there are other parts of the Arctic where there is more immediate need, but in principle, throughout the Arctic, and out of the 8 countries who happen to be in the Arctic, 7 are NATO members. So we're actually quite well prepared to deal with existing and future security challenges in the Arctic. So that's a dual message that we're sending to our friends in the United States of America.
Norway's position remains the same. We will not allow ourselves to be put under pressure, and those types of threats of U.S. tariffs are unacceptable between close allies. Yes, the American president is unconventional, to put it diplomatically, but America is also something other and more than the American president. I trust the world. There are also checks and balances in American society, and that essentially gives me a belief that when we stand together and when we're able to explain what is at stake, and it is not only Europe for which things are at stake, there are major things at stake for the United States as well, then we will also get through this. I mean, that is something one has to believe in and something to work for.
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That has often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out Tariff.
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.